Hello friends, welcome to the Southern Mountain Kitchen. Today we're making made from scratch honey butter cornbread. So if you've watched my videos before, you will realize that I had a honey butter cornbread recipe go up before, but it was a quick recipe where I was using a mix to add to it to make it have the honey butter taste. So today we're going to actually do it completely from scratch, because a lot of people ask, how do you do it without using the mix, because a lot of people didn't want to use the mix. And that's fine, because making it from scratch is just as easy. All the ingredients you see on my board is what we're going to use to make these. And really, it's not hard to do. It's just a matter of mixing it up and going for it. And it has such a great taste. And this is just something I love to eat because the sweetness of the cornbread, it's just amazing when you make this from scratch. But like I said, the other video was just basically for people who didn't have the time to go through the whole process. This one, really, it isn't that bad to make. And one thing that I do in this that a lot of people don't use is I use buttermilk. So you can use regular milk if you want to when you're mixing yours up. That's your choice. So we're going to start off with a cup of all-purpose flour. Then we're using a cup of cornmeal, 2/3 cup of sugar, 3½ teaspoons of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of salt. And before we do anything else, we're going to mix this up just to distribute everything, because we want to make sure that everything that's gone in here so far, like the baking powder and the salt and everything, kind of gets distributed throughout the flour and the cornmeal. You don't want it all clumped up in one place, and it wouldn't be that pleasant to bite into either if it was all in one area. So go ahead and stir this up. You can use anything from a whisk to a spoon. Then we're going to add 1 large egg. Break that up a little bit and mix it through some so we make sure it's totally broken. Then we're going to add 1/3 cup of melted butter. We're going to mix that just a little bit. And then the last part of this that's going in is 1 cup of buttermilk. Now, if you don't like buttermilk, you don't have to use it. You could use regular milk. It's your choice. I like the taste that the buttermilk gives this. It just gives a little bit of a kick, and I just like that. So anyway, we're going to preheat our ovens to 400 degrees because this is going to bake for 20 to 25 minutes. Now, when you go to put this in something to bake, you have a choice. You can use muffin tins, a 9-inch cake pan, or I used a 9-inch cast iron skillet. So you can use whatever you want. I prefer the cast iron skillet just because the fact that it cooks better to me. I don't know, it has a better edge. It cooks as far as like the crust and everything outside of it. It works better for me. It's your choice what you use. A lot of people make these as muffins, and that's perfectly fine. If you use a muffin tin, it just means they're already individual and ready to go. So go ahead and make sure all of this is mixed up really thoroughly. Scrape the bottoms of your bowl, go around the side, just make sure everything is pulled in. Because I like to make sure that none of the dry ingredients get stuck to the bottom of the bowl, because once you go to pour this in, you don't want to find out the hard way there was something you didn't get to in the bottom. So this is my cast iron skillet, and I'm just putting a little bit of oil in here, and I'm going to wipe it around the bottom and the sides, just for the fact that I don't want this setting up shop. I don't want it sticking. I want it to come out perfectly the first time. I've had these stick before. That's why I put the oil in now, just to make sure that they don't stick. Usually with cast iron, you're pretty good for something not sticking, but it happens. So once it's oiled, we're going to go ahead and pour all of our mix into it. Just a reminder, if you haven't preheated your oven, you need it at 400 degrees, and these are cooking for 20 to 25 minutes. Whether you're making the muffins or whatever. Now, if you're putting these in a muffin tin, they might cook a little faster, so you might want to check that along the way. But if you're using the cake pan or the cast iron skillet, you just want to make sure, as you're going along, that you're not overcooking this. Because sometimes this will be done in about 20 minutes, depending on how hot your oven is before you put this in. So you just kind of monitor it a little bit, and you can test it just to see if it's cooked in the center. And once this is ready, it is going into the oven. And when it comes back, it looks something like this. Now, I let mine sit for about 4 or 5 minutes, and now I'm poking holes in the top of it, and there's a reason. For the poked holes, when you pour the honey butter over top of it, it's going to sink down into the cornbread. So it's going to go over the top and then also down into the sides of the pan as well. And once you get all your holes poked in, you are going to mix up 8 tablespoons of butter that's melted, and this can be salted if you want, and then 6 tablespoons of honey. And once you get this all mixed together, we're literally going to pour it over top of the cornbread. So get your honey into the butter and stir it up. And when we go to pour this on top, it's going to sit on top for a second, and that's okay. It doesn't matter because it's going to actually soak in. So make sure everything is really stirred up, and the honey might take a second to mix in with the butter. And if you have a little clumpiness in your butter from where you heated it up, that's okay. It's going to melt over top of this cornbread because this stuff is hot. So once you pour this on top of it, let it soak in a little bit, keep pouring it. And then when you get the whole thing over top of it, you take a spoon and kind of smooth it out around the holes and everything and around to the edges. And just after sitting for about 3-4 minutes or whatever, you're going to notice this stuff is soaking in. And if you look at mine coming up here in a second, you're going to see what happens when it soaks into the surface. It looks like this. And it's ready to eat at this point. As long as you can get it out of the pan without burning yourself, you are in business. And this is such an amazing thing to eat because of the flavor that is packed into this cornbread. And as you can see, I served mine with a vegetable and some meatloaf, which coming up in a future video, I'm going to have meatloaf, a southern style meatloaf. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please like and subscribe. And if you get a chance, check out my cookbooks, which are available in bookstores worldwide. The first is about everyday cooking. The second is all about baking. Have a great day.